Let me just finish up this public trust rant and then pick up your phone calls here. I wanted to finish with some of the comments that Robert Reich made in his piece, which is published at robertreich.org and then reprinted over at Alternet and I guess in several other places as well. He points out, first of all, how Newt Gingrich really started this in 1995 when he took over the House of Representatives as Speaker of the House in the so-called Gingrich Revolution during the Bill Clinton presidency, and basically was willing to lie, cheat, and steal his way to anything that, you know, succeeded. Now, those aren't Robert Reich's words, but when you consider, for example, his contract on America, where the majority of the contract points all pointed to one thing, which was a giant tax break for rich people. Newt Gingrich calling President Obama the food stamp president, you know, in other words, have you noticed that he's black, and then saying he exhibits Kenyan anti-colonial behavior. So don't trust the president. And then Norman Ornstein and Thomas Mann of the American Enterprise Institute and Brookings, respectively, said, quote, "The forces Mr. Gingrich unleashed destroyed whatever comity, as in friendship, cooperation, collaboration, whatever comity existed across party lines." Reich writes, Gingrich's Republican Party became, quote, and then quoting these two experts, ideologically extreme, scornful of compromise, unmoved by conventional understanding of facts, evidence, and science, and dismissive of the legitimacy of its political opposition. And he said, by the way, this isn't just limited to Republicans, and he points to Debbie Wasserman Schultz and her disdain for the integrity of the political process during the Democratic primary. Now, she's been kicked out on her keister, so, you know, at least you can say the Democratic Party in some ways has tried to realign itself, but the Republican Party is still totally, you know, totally down with this. And it's spread to the corporate sector. And the example he uses is John Stumpf, the CEO of Wells Fargo. He says he chose to win regardless of the long-term consequences of their strategy, and Stumpf and his colleagues made a bundle. Lost his job, got a $40 million golden parachute. Gee, what a tough thing. And then he talks about Heather Bresch, the daughter of Joe Manchin, the senator from West Virginia. She runs a Mylan Pharmaceuticals, and how they jacked up the EpiPens from $100 to $608. Martin Shkreli, Turin Pharmaceuticals. And then Robert Reich writes, even when some of these trust destroyers get nailed with fines or penalties or public rebuke, they don't bear the larger costs of undermining public trust. And that's my point. This is part of the commons. It's probably the least tangible part of the commons. You can't point to it and say, there it is. It's not like a national park. You say, well, that's the commons right there. It's Yellowstone. But public trust is part of the commons. And Robert Reich writes, by stretching the boundaries of what's acceptable, they have undermined prevailing norms and weakened the tacit rules of the game. The net result has been a vicious cycle of public distrust. And I would argue that that public distrust is what has made it possible for the Republicans even to, frankly, to continue to exist. That, along with, you know, knocking millions of people off the voting rolls, which is a whole nother rant for another hour of, yes, Virginia, the elections are rigged. It's just that it's the Republicans who are rigging them, and the way that they're rigging them is by throwing people of color and you know, principally Hispanics, African Americans, and Asians off the voting rolls. And this is the epicenter for this, of course, is Kansas, which is where Chris Kobach is running interstate crosscheck, at least according to Greg Palast in his investigative reporting.